before I've got a message, I just realized something I want to share with you. We must consider the society we live in and what the Holy Scripture says about such a society. Prophesied in Revelation, described in the prophets and the Old Testament when God dealt with Israel when it was a certain way and had to punish it in certain ways. So when we consider these things and we examine the powers that be, as they call them, I would say the government beast powers of our day, when we look at what's happening in the media, they're trying to push the homosexual agenda as far as pushing it on society, whereas statistically, society is still rejecting the homosexual agenda, but the media seems to want to paint a picture that it's accepting it. I believe that the media, government-controlled media, and the government's behind it more than the media itself, uses the media, is trying to push the boundaries and test society to see what society will accept. And what I'm seeing is they're finding that society is not as malleable as they'd like it to be, as far as being able to, the evil powers that be want to cause us to turn from God so that they can control us, so that we're no longer blessed and protected by God. Because if they can turn us from God, then they can have their way with us, because God won't be protecting us, right? So they're trying to force this stuff on us, but our society is resisting that homosexual agenda more than they would want us to. So what happens is you look at the prophesied history of a sudden destruction of fire burning cities in an hour. So what I'm seeing right now is, I'm not seeing the government's, I'm just seeing what they're seeing. And I am assuming and coming to the conclusion that the government is seeing that they cannot manipulate society into accepting Satan's ways as much as they want. Obviously, society's wicked, but they want it to be more wicked, to have their way with it. But they're not getting that like they want to. So their plan Z, as I would say, would be to nuke the great cities, burn them down, whatever. Just like is prophesied, the sudden destruction. It says that the beast has 10 horns and 7 heads. It says in Revelation 17 that the 10 horns on the beast shall hate the whore, make her desolate and naked, eat her flesh and burn her with fire. In Revelation 18 it says, that whore, that woman you saw, is the great city that makes the merchants of the earth rich, and that when she's destroyed, every shipmaster that trades by sea and all company in ships shall weep and mourn over her, because no one buys their merchandise anymore. So it has to do with a financial supporting power making merchants rich that will be destroyed by fire in an hour, it says in another verse. So we have these elements to come into balance, with the scripture to keep it all in view, and we have what's happening right now. They're trying to push these, they're trying to take the guns away. They're trying to, from the people. They're trying to make the people acquiesce and accept wickedness so that God's protection is removed and they can have their way with our society to be able to implement the not being able to buy or sell save he that had the mark or the number of his name, as in Revelation 13. They don't want to fight. They want it to be a laydown where they can just go in and enforce it without having fighting, because they're afraid of rebellion. If they send their soldiers or troops or whatever in on the people and the people resist, there's a huge, extreme chance that their soldiers will turn to the people and defect against the government and overthrow the government. So we have this little pickle that's being played. So we got to know, the enemy doesn't want to make any uncertain moves because he doesn't have God backing him up. So it's like his only last one chance to deal with it, so they don't want to mess it up. So you can see a lot of things coming into play. I just wanted to share what I'm seeing overall on the prophetic table of history. I'm seeing it come into view. I'm seeing that the governments can't have their way unless they burn the whore, as it says in the scripture, or burn down the great cities, making the merchants of the earth rich, to come in with, instead of money, have a government-controlled credit, mark thing where they can control everything. So no one can buy or sell unless they got the mark of the beast or the global government. So you see how it's coming in. And then about a few weeks ago, I saw a video where it's actually showing a man in Europe and in the States here too. That's two separate videos. One in Europe, the guy had the mark, is going through the hallway waving his chip at the door and opening the door. More extremely so, though, in the States here, where I live, they have people getting the implant and waving their hand over the register to pay for their goods in the store. So it's a voluntary thing right now that's being accepted voluntarily. Obviously, they're going to phase it in, but we do have this prophetic element to not be forgotten and not be neglected in our understanding, that we be taken as, the time will come in on us as a thief, and we will be unexpected of the sudden destruction. It's the sudden destruction that is going to occur, that a lot of people are trying to see a pattern to know when it's going to happen, but there is no pattern when it hits. It just hits all at once. The powers that be, in one moment, they're going to decide to flip it and go for it, and all out, boom, and the dominoes will fall right away. It's not going to be a gradual thing. So that's why we have to be walking in the Spirit, because if we're not walking in the Spirit, we'll be caught unawares, and it'll be surprising if we are walking in the Spirit. But if we're walking in the Spirit, God will set us into position. We won't even know it probably, and He may tell some of us, but set our lives into a position where we can handle and be preserved through the time, because He says, my sheep hear my voice. He also says, he who endures to the end, the same shall be saved. And He also says, what's the other thing? I'm sorry. There's an intention we need to have of preserving ourselves to the end. It says, I'm trying to remember that verse. I'm sorry. Wish I could just tell you. I'm driving though, so I can't look it up too easily. It's I'm sorry, I'm pausing. I'm thinking of strive to enter in. That's obvious, to stay in His kingdom. But there's another aspect of intending to endure to the end. He does say, he who endures to the end, the same shall be saved. But there's a specific thing Jesus said. Oh, that's right. Occupy till He comes. So there's a scripture in the effect of occupying until He comes. So we need to intend to remain here till He comes and not give up or give in or give ourselves over, but we need to intend to be preserved. And it says to flee. It says, like, look at Paul. Paul was let down in a basket and ran from the authorities and was preserved. So we need to try our best to avoid being stopped from our free movement. You know what I mean? To endure to the end. to not be giving up. There's a lot of the horror churches, I call them the corporation-headed churches on the street corners and in the phone